and it's immediately called iconic. It can't by default. It's like Kia making a freaking coupe and calling it iconic like a 911. You know, it's not. You know, it did not exist yesterday. How can it be iconic today? It's impossible. That's not how anything iconic works at all. And it's just the buzzword of the moment. And it's beyond frustrating. You know, if I searched for the word iconic in my inbox, I'm not even sure how many emails I have. Let's see. Hold on.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. Ariel is apparently diving somewhere in Florida with someone called Certina. I'm not sure what the relationship is like, but it seems to be strong enough for him to go diving with her. So we're joined by Ripley because we need a representative from the West. We need somebody on the show that's wearing board shorts and a t-shirt, because no matter what time of year it is where me and David are, it's probably still 28 degrees in the shade where Ripley is, or at least that's what I like to think. Ripley, how are you, and how is your famous brick wall that you sit in front of?
It's stony and cold and fantastic, but it is unseasonably warm here in Los Angeles, so it is full t-shirt weather, sun's out, working on my tan, going on hikes. It's nice to be doing this at the end of January.
Good. I feel that we need to give the wall a name, or we need to get viewers, like, you know, Archie Luxury, how he's got his background that's got all the kind of stuff in it. I think
still have nightmares from it.
Send Ripley things like when you go to the cinema. I don't know if this is what happens in the States or in Hungary, but you get adverts for really local organizations on the big screen. So it'll be like, you know, adverts for the next big movie and the curry house round the corner. So no. I feel that Ripley needs some really localized advertising for the shop at the end of the street. So Ripley, you can go and drum up some trade. We'll let you keep all the money.
I was thinking about just using my favorite press releases from brands just behind me and plastering it there. Whoever puts out the most long-winded, superlative-filled description, you get a spot right here behind me.
Well, we'll come on to that later in the show. David, how are you this morning?
Good. I'm happy we have somebody sleep deprived from the West Coast here on the show. Rick, it's time you admitted it. That's what we want. I mean, that adds a fun element. Sleep deprivation and watches.
Yeah, we need... Yeah, someone who might make the occasional faux pas that just adds to the humour of the show. Just like sleep deprived, alcohol, loud music, you know, just gets them into saying bad things about Hublot or, you know, Tag.
Somebody else.
I might be picking on LVMH Group for some reason. Who knows why that might be. Right, well, what are we gonna do? See, as Ariel's not here, we're going to talk about some watches, or we're going to roam around. Anything struck you in the news this week so far? Any non-watch stuff, or, you know, watch stories rather than watch reviews that have taken your interest in the last week?
It's tough because there's something going on that I can't talk about. Which makes it
that's
really
our favourite thing.
Yeah.
That's our favourite thing. Do we get to play 20 questions and you just deny all knowledge? We say we waterboarded you.
Yeah, we could do that. I'm not sure if that makes for good listening, but we can maybe we can turn this into like a trial or something.
Sound of water running in the background.
There's that. I mean, clearly LVMH Watch Week is happening. I miss being there. I wish I was there. I'm sure there are some cool rumors and stuff floating around, as well as a lot of nice watches. So I do envy everyone who's there playing with all these cool LVMH brand watches for sure.
Does LVMH Watch Week work as a concept, one multi-brand thing like LVMH?
Why not?
6 different brands all at the same time in Florida, or does it just completely oversaturate everything? Everything's just LVMH Group, and then once it's gone, you're
that's what they want.
Watches and wonders.
I mean,
they won't just have that.
Yeah, I mean, they own the place. They have all the attention, right?
Yeah, and I think it works out kind of well. They all get to kind of play their own part in this, coordinated launch. So no one's stepping on each other's toes with the release. You know, they all kind of understand what's going to debut now versus later in the year. And so, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for brands to do this. And other ones have kind of tried. Remember swatch groups like, what was it? Time to move or time to move. Yes. Yeah. So I think it makes a lot of sense for brands to, who have other brands at different price points and positions to do this.
And obviously, it's been some moving chairs at LVMH Group. Julian Tournair's now at TAG. Do you think everyone's still trying to figure out? They go up to Julian. Julian's a good guy, up for a chat. How many times do you think he's still introduced himself as CEO of Zenith during the week? Because these are the watches that are being released just now, like this Zenith triple calendar.
Yeah,
that's his watch. So you think he's like, I don't really know anything about these tags. The Zenith is a thing that I had involved in. Talk to me about the Zenith.
I'm sure he can take credit for it in meetings and stuff,
They are sneaking him in the back.
Yeah.
Favorite release of LVMH Watch Week so far?
Well, I mean, if you make a Hublot in a transparent colored material, I am here for it. This is the least expensive one that they've ever put forward, so I am double here for it. Not that I have $100,000 to spend on any watch, let alone something in SAXEM, but I love that thing. Yeah, give me the green one on the right wrist, the yellow one on the left wrist, and I'll be perfectly happy.
Well, we'll come on to have a look at that watch shortly, but first up this week, we're going to talk about the Montblanc 1858 and the unveiling of the Timekeeper Minerva Chronograph, a watch without buttons. David, did you get hands-on with this watch?
I did when we were very briefly because these are Ariel's pictures. I looked at them, played with them for like a couple of seconds, and then went back to taking pictures of the other pieces in there, which I liked more. To be honest, this one didn't really catch my eye. Proportions is basically the most important thing that I look for in a watch first time. So when I first look at a watch, if it doesn't have nice proportions, basically I lose interest almost immediately, which is my loss really, because this is a very cool watch in the sense that it has this exceptional functionality where this is a chronograph, but it has no pushers, none. Montblanc and Minerva used to engineer the monopusher into the crown and conceal it that way. But here, what you do is you twisted the crown, or you step the crown, the bezel, you have to like rotate the bezel a little bit, and that is how you use essentially the monopusher chronograph, in the sense that every action you make with the bezel by turning it starts, stops, and resets it. So that is kind of cool. I really liked the ring command bezel on Rolexes and the way those feel. I could just play around with those all the time. And here, the way that it is linked directly to the function is also very cool engineering wise. But again, the proportions are a bit off to my eyes.
So does it feel like, for those that have maybe handled Sky Dweller, this is the same kind of idea? Has it got that kind of springiness that the command bezel has, or is it?
From what I remember, it's notchy, so you just turn it, and then of course it has to have like some nice mechanical action, because it cannot be like a smooth turning bezel like on a whatever, like a GMT or something like that, or whatever else, or a Navitime or something, where you rotate it and then it's just a smooth action but doesn't have like any tactile feedback. This one definitely has that, but I don't recall it being either way. Like, I don't know.
And do you just keep turning it, or does it turn back in that you turn it one notch, it starts, you turn it another notch, it stops, you turn it the third notch, it resets, and then you just keep going, you start, stop, and the whole thing rotates? Or is it start and then back to zero, and then turn and then back?
Because it's a monopusher, in the same way that you just press the button all the time, it's basically the same action. So here you have to create the same sort of action, so you just keep turning. You don't have to like go back and forth or anything like that.
Yeah. Cool. Ripley, what do you think about this? 42. It's quite small, like 42.5. It feels like it's got a lot in it for a 42mm case.
It's got a lot in it. It's got a lot printed on the dial too. There's the whole Magna Carta in its spiral formation around there. I like the mechanism. I think the aesthetics are kind of all over the place. Look at the color of the hands on the green one. Again, it's kind of one of those things where in concept, I very much like that they're doing this. I think the bezel is an underutilized thing in general. So whether we're talking about the IWCs, the Rolex ring command bezel, like even some Oruses do it, I think it's a very cool and intuitive way of interacting with the movement, provided that, the brand's able to implement it in a reliable fashion. But from an aesthetic standpoint, these watches are so busy. You've got this fluted bezel for grip, you've got this fluted crown, you've got a million different scales on the dial, it's a chronograph, so you've got the 2 registers, of course, you've got Arabic numerals, things are overlapping, different colors, let's put some neon green hands. It's so busy that like I kind of wish the watch itself was simpler, to keep an emphasis on how elegantly simple this implementation of a chronograph could be, rather than making it look like this super convoluted, high-techy, kind of vintagey, scientific chronograph that just looks like it's mission pushers. I would have rather had them kind of play on the simplified concept in the aesthetics, rather than having a super busy dial and then a very like classic case, if you will.
I mean, 46 grand for the cheapest one. Again, it feels like, I mean, how can you possibly say it feels like value for money? But it does feel like you're getting something that is very different and, you know, genuinely is an outstanding product on its own, provided, as Ripley says, that it actually works reliably. But there's no particular reason to think that a Minerva, with all the history and expertise they've got, this wouldn't be a stable platform on which to try this. Is there a history within Minerva of this kind of ring command function? Does anybody know? Or
this is the first time?
This is the first time they've done it. So you're presumably going to see this bleeding out elsewhere within Montblanc Minerva. There's presumably no way you invent that kind of thing, unless you're Rolex and only put it in a watch that's going to sell, you know,
You'd say that,
many.
but we've seen Montblanc and Minerva create all kinds of super crazy stuff over the years. If you remember, like that there was this Metamorphosis watch and all the rest of them, like really very outlandish, extremely complicated and outrageously expensive to develop movements that they've never used again. So for some reason they apparently feel comfortable spending all this money and developing these kinds of things. These would be fun to have and definitely a unique selling point for something in the 4 to 6 or maybe 8 grand range in you know, more affordable and competitively priced Montblancs. But I'd be very surprised if this trickled down into that region of pricing from Montblanc watches.
I mean, when you think Montblanc, you think Geosphere and maybe Nicholas Rieussec chronographs. Is there anything else that you think about when, you know...
the Time Walker, or whatever that...
The Time Walker?
Yeah.
So do we feel Montblanc is a brand... Like, is it a... Is the whole brand a hit and miss, or maybe is it a buy, a sell, a stick? You know, if you were buying Montblanc shares, does this feel like they're doing something which is going to create value for the brand, or does it just feel like an intellectual exercise because they own a bunch of watchmakers?
Well, I think this Montblanc is a stark contrast to the Montblanc of even less than 10 years ago. One of my friends who's a stylist, I would go to sample sales, and I remember distinctly going to a Montblanc sample sale. That to me, it would be never happen today. You know, Richemont spent millions of dollars buying up unsold inventory because it's not good to have for optics to have these sold at a discount. And granted, I went there, I didn't buy anything. It wasn't really the watches that I was interested in buying that you're going to see, discounted as such. But I think for a brand that can do what Minerva does, Montblanc should really be playing to a higher tier rather than these bottom dollar like time and date Time Walker models. Do more things like this. These are the people. It's more of an enthusiast driven brand. So yes, of course, keep those core collection offerings for the people who want to watch to match their pen. But I think these more complication driven pieces is good for Montblanc's image as a whole, because for a while, even up until less than 10 years ago, it was getting very, very diluted and just becoming a very high level fashion brand, like a Burberry or something like that.
Yeah. Grand. Well, go and give us your opinion on the aBlogtoWatch website about that new watch from Montblanc. Ripley introduces to the Bremont Argyle. I'm already offended by the fact it's got 2 L's in the word Argylle as a Scotsman who lives occasionally in Argylle. So can anyone explain to me, first of all, why it's got 2 L's? Is this some sort of copyright thing, do we think?
I would presume if you had searched, the movie is titled Argylle, like the Argylle. So if you had just searched Argylle with one L, it would never show up on anything. You know, you get interior design, color swatches. So I imagine the unique spelling was chosen by the producers and the film execs so that it could be Googleable, if you will. Beyond that, it absolutely created issues for me writing this with spell check, trying to every single step of the way fight me on that and axe one of those L's.
Think of the journalists, Bremont. Think of the journalists.
It should have started with like a silent T or something like Targyle or
So, I wonder how long this is. I'm trying to work out whether this feels like a Davide Chirato team up, or whether this feels like Argylle, the movie's been in the works so long that this was an English Brothers, you know,
I think the latter
movie thing.
I mean, they've done so many movies, right, over the years. I think it was on brand already before Chirato would join. So I think it's on brand for Bremont anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, well, is it? Just in that it's, I don't know. What did you think of the watches, Ripley? Did you get hands on with them?
No. I wish I had a chance to see them. I mean, I can kind of deduce that generally speaking, Bremonts are impressive in person. They're very high quality for the money. People always complain about the price, but they do give you a good watch for the money. The only thing that I didn't really like about these, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on how well they embody the themes of the characters or the film or anything like that. But the only thing that I thought was a little bit weak was with the Kingsman watches, the watches they produced were the ones worn in the film. Mm-hmm. And in this one, they basically made watches inspired by three of the main characters and the thematic patterns of the film. And I always kind of, you know how we say, like, don't make a watch with Spider-Man on it, make a watch that Spider-Man would wear.
Yeah.
I kind of like it more when brands make a watch that could exist within the universe of the film rather than a watch that's like almost like, you know, the merch shop at the Disney store type of thematic thing. And this, to be fair, other than the name Argylle, they're very tasteful watches, but like, there's no overt branding on them. They just kind of look like interesting colorways, but I would have rather had it been the watch on screen.
Yeah, as I understand it, the main character in Argylle that's going to get all the attention is a cat. But there seems to be a cat involved somewhere from the trailers that I've seen. I think they've had to like go, we need to introduce something cute into this film because it's maybe not very good. Let's introduce a cat, and that's what they've done. But this is Henry Cavill. I think he's the guy that plays Argylle. Correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't feel, a Bremont doesn't feel like a Henry Cavill watch. It doesn't feel like a chunk of, are these 43 mil and about 17 millimeters thick probably?
Yeah.
If it's a Bremont, it's going to be big. It doesn't feel like a kind of slide under the elegant suited cuff of Henry Cavill. But,
one thing to note about the film is the director had a bunch of characters choose models from Bremont's catalog to wear on screen in the film. Okay. So what I would almost have rather had them do was create a capsule collection of just existing models and say, hey, these are going to be on screen, check them out, or, give them a different strap or some packaging or something. But it'll be interesting to see what models they're wearing versus what models are like inspired by the characters, because it could be totally something different.
Yeah, one of my favorite comments under the article is this, like, hey, that's a cool watch. Thanks. It's a limited edition Bremont made to celebrate the movie Argylle, which features an ensemble cast that includes Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, Dua Lipa, John Cena, Ariana DeBose, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, Sophia Boutella, and Samuel L. Jackson. Oh, I'm sorry. That's like when there's a description of a watch, at its core, I think that's hysterical, because you cannot say that as you say, Ripley, that it was worn on screen. No, it's a limited edition Bremont made to celebrate the movie Argylle, which features an ensemble cast. It's like that's precisely what we're talking about. That's not the direction we should be going, right, with these things. But who knows? I wish Bremont well. I hope they shift a lot of these, but I'm just not sure where the appeal is.
If they'd managed to get the main character's name to be Bremont Argyle, that would have been worth it. That's what he needs to call him. Bremont Argyle is his name rather than Argylle. Maybe that's what we should call Henry Cavill from now on, Mr. Bremont.
There's a Bremont movie coming for sure.
they're otherwise good looking watches, and they've got the Argyle pattern on the dial, but it's a bit curious because no one's seen the movie yet, how these actually relate to the movie. It's kind of like when those Tenet watches from Hamilton came out, but the release of Tenet had been pushed back so far because of COVID. No one had seen the movie. Parts of the press release were redacted, and so you had you kind of you wanted to know if this actually made any sense, but you didn't have any point of reference for that. And that's kind of where I'm at with these watches, where I'd love to see the film and there could be an aha moment where you just look at a GMT and go, that is Henry Cavill. Ha ha. Or not, we don't know. We have to see the movie.
Do we think it's a good sign or a bad sign that the watches have been released before the movie?
Well, I think it's a good move. I never understood it when it debuts on a day off, right? I think it's a good call. But I realized that what I want is a round watch with Henry Cavill's square face on it. That would be maybe it's more fitting for a reverso or something.
Reverso.
It's Bell and Ross. It's the Scott.
Yeah.
It's the cyber skull. We just want his jaw to move up and down.
I mean, Henry Cavill used to date a very well-known show jumper, and I can imagine a reverso as, the watch of Henry Cavill. That feels more appropriate.
Fantastic.
Than a Bremont, but there we go. Yeah, the square-jawed Bell and Ross does sound like fun.
Hi, this is Ariel Adams, founder of aBlogtoWatch, with a message about eBay. I visit eBay daily and have been relying on eBay to learn about and acquire watches for more than 20 years. Did you know that you can now buy watches directly from brands or their authorized dealers on eBay? Timepieces coveted by watch enthusiasts from brands like Zodiac, Laco, Parallel, and more are part of eBay's Certified by Brand program. Here's how it works. Luxury names are partnering with eBay to bring brand new and pre-owned watches and other luxury accessories directly to you. Certified by Brand includes a minimum 1-year factory warranty for watches and offers an unprecedented selection of new and used watches directly from the source, all with the peace of mind you can expect from eBay. Visit ebay.com/certified by brand for more information.
7 fun things that were released in the last couple of weeks, 10 days or so. The Seiko concept watches at the Seiko incredibly specialised watch exhibition. Now, we'll maybe do a bit more of a deep dive into these on a subsequent show, because I know Ariel's dead keen to speak about them. But David, you've had a quick look over these. Can you tell us a bit about the history of what this watch exhibition is about? Because this happens every so often.
Yeah, a quick
design project.
A quick look is quite the understatement. I mean, as you know, when it comes to Seiko, getting images and press information and whatever else it's gotten better over the years, but it's still a very tiresome and needlessly difficult enterprise. But still, I mean, we made it and it's here. And everyone who's listening, I would very, very genuinely and highly recommend that you check out the article titled 7 Fascinating Seiko Concept Watches at the Seiko incredibly specialized watch exhibition, which is hysterical. I mean, this is part of the Seiko Power Design project that was started in 2001 and it was suspended in 2009 and revived as recently as 2022. And basically here, what Seiko is doing is they are creating a platform for, as it turns out, their own designers and staff to stretch their imagination a little bit and create new concepts for very, in this case or for this year, incredibly specialized use scenarios. So you have 7 different watches, and just to give you an idea, like one of them is a dedicated hide and seek watch that is about 45 millimeters tall, or maybe 65. I don't even know. It's more like a wristed device that is also a watch, and it's absolutely fantastic. And actually, the imagery and the little presentation gifs or gifs or whatever that they created are also fantastic. It's just one of the most beautifully lighthearted, entertaining, and fascinating news article or news from the watch industry that I've seen in a great many years. So I would highly recommend that you guys check it out.
Yeah, you need to check out this article, but it is just like watch designs taken to their logical conclusion in some cases.
They're tool watches. That's the great part of it. Like, the power design project has gone a bunch of different ways, but I love that this capsule collection are tool watches. All of them serve a very specific purpose, even if it's only to appeal to panda enthusiasts. But like,
aren't we all?
I absolutely love some of these, whether it's for culinary endeavors, ambidextrous individuals, masking tape enthusiasts, sunny men, which something doesn't translate there correctly. I'm half Japanese. I'm half Japanese myself. There is something that we are coming up short on with this one coming to reconcile. But it's a fantastic article. David did a great job putting it all together.
Thank you.
But if you
From very limited information.
But if you want to see tool watches that aren't for these like ridiculous things that don't really have a purpose in the watch space anymore, like diving, which has been replaced by, dive computers or what have you, here's a bunch of like the concept of a tool watch adapted to these really, really whimsical scenarios. Some are involved, like seamstresses and all of that stuff. So it's a fantastic article, but it's also just, anyone who gets bored with Seiko and thinks they just make 1,062 mass reissues or whatever. This is like the absolute most whimsical thing they do. It's not like they do this every day, like they release a new watch. It's a fantastic thing. I can't recommend it enough as just a weird deep dive into Seiko's id.
Yeah, the tape dispenser watch is quite simply the best one. That's just brilliant.
Which one?
Well, the ambidextrous one.
The ambidextrous. They're all cool, but the tape dispenser. I can imagine the tape dispenser on one wrist with the pincushion watch on the other.
Oh yeah,
would be just perfect. That would just get you all your hobby craft people would be just in that. So yeah, you need to check these out. And it is a very well done article, David, because I know, having looked at these watches, there's not a lot of information on them. It does take for such a good project from Seiko, it's so hidden away, so difficult to actually find and stumble across unless you know to look for it, or indeed unless you go to the website and click on the specific links. But go and check these out.
And just one last note is that you have pictures of all the creators and words on them, who they are, how long they've been with Seiko, what is it that they are responsible for at Seiko or Grand Seiko. So you can see all these faces, and they are hilarious to set up featured images for all these designers and stuff. They're posing with masking tape and whatnot. So it's been taken very seriously. And of course there is an exhibition in Japan for all of these things that is that has free admission. So yeah, check out the article and have fun indeed.
Which of these proposals should be the one that makes it into an actual Seiko?
All of them.
All of them. I do want to play guess what should the price be of these Seikos at some stage, but wait till Ariel's back to do that. To give them a review. The Panda one's cool. The Panda one. They're all cool. Go check them out.
I love the ambidextrous one. However, they've managed to make the dial change color depending on how you wear that. That's so cool. And considering that there's two hands, you could do all sorts of clever stuff with time zones depending on how they chose to implement that movement. I'm almost surprised that doesn't already exist somewhere in Seiko's lineup yet, or Grand Seiko's lineup yet. I think that's just a great looking watch, like objectively speaking, but also conceptually, it's not so esoteric like a tape dispenser that, someone might not actually wear it. I would totally wear one of those on each wrist, one in inverted, inverted orientations.
Well, we also know that you would wear one of these on your wrist. We spoke about it earlier in the show. Tell us, what is SAXEM and why does it appear on an Hublot Big Bang Unico that's bright green, Ripley?
Okay, so SAXEM, it's a close relative of sapphire as far as a material. It was originally created for the satellite industry. Both use aluminum oxide as the foundation of it. The main difference here is SAXEM's colored with a rare earth minerals, and it has a cubic structure rather than like a triangular one, which effectively it means that it's able to achieve a more symmetrical and rich color regardless of the angle that you view it. So when Hublot really wants to make a rich saturated color that is super, super punchy and isn't able to be achieved with sapphire, they turn to SAXEM. So this is now the second color they've worked with. It's the second watch of the first color. So originally they did an MP series in green. Last year they did a tourbillon in neon yellow. Now they're doing green again. They've given it a bracelet. But it's the most affordable SAXEM watch they've done thus far. It's almost like half the price of the one that debuted last year because it doesn't have a tourbillon. But it's a really cool material. As far as I know, it's kind of only exists within the Hublotscape as far as watches. But what you're able to, so any colored sapphire case is cool in my opinion. But what you're able to get with sapphire is a color that's beyond rich, almost like a colored glass, a plastic gemstone. And so this really is like a Lego piece for the wrist. It's cartoony colored, super vibrant green. It's like a giant glass emerald. Really cool. Don't walk into a doorway, obviously, but you know,
is it tougher?
Absolutely fantastic.
Is it designed to be tougher than sapphire, or is it still just sapphire? But
Hublot claims that it is close to sapphire. If I had to guess, it'd probably be a little bit less durable than sapphire. Sapphire is super hard. The triangle in general is the strongest geometric structure. So the fact that one has a crystalline structure based on triangles versus a cubic structure, I would wager that sapphire would be the harder material. Maybe SAXEM is more flexible, so more impact tolerant. Who knows? Either way, it's a fancy high-end glass. Don't drop it. Don't hit it into hard things. But it can't be more durable than sapphire. Hublot claims it's very, very comparable. I'd take them at face value. If we really stressed it up to a stress test, I'd imagine it is a little bit softer, but that's just my speculation. Nothing to prove that.
Oh, I love these. I've been waiting for these translucent cases to become a thing ever since the oh my goodness, what the hell was its name? Cecil Purnell Mirage was its name, and that debuted, I believe, even slightly before the Richard Mille sapphire cased watch, a decade or more ago. Those were the first sapphire cased watches as far as I can recall, and I've done some research into this. There might have been some other obscure examples, but I think a Cecil Purnell Mirage is as obscure as they get. And ever since those things have come into existence, I was like, wow, these things should be around more. And of course, who else we could count on to take that home than Hublot. And so now we're seeing all these colored examples. I would still be tempted to just go for clear sapphire because I think that just gives you all kinds of options in terms of the look into the movement and all these various elements. But, once you are bored with sapphire case watches, then SAXEM it is for you. And at 116,000, I mean, that's a truckload of money, but still, at the same time, it's interesting how we have drifted far away from spending that sort of money on perpetual calendars or split-second chronographs, and the market is spending it on fancy cases and other, I think, relatively speaking, maybe even more entertaining, upgrades to a watch, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good point that the money is now, you're now more able to, like, no one's seeing your triple split from across the room and going, yeah, that guy's loaded or girl's loaded. They are looking at the green thing across the room and thinking something. They might not be thinking, that's an expensive watch. They could just be thinking, what a moron. But, they're at least thinking something. You're communicating. I do think it's interesting that Hublot still think that they don't have to adapt the way that Apple have and introduce USB-C into connections into it. Rather, I think the European Union need to be having a wee word with Hublot on their USB upgrades and cross-compatibility.
For anyone who doesn't know what Rick is talking about, is talking about the one-click system that you can see. If you look at this watch and it's in the integrated logs, you see these little, actually truly micro USB slot-shaped buttons that you have to press for the strap to be to pop out, and so that you can just more easily change the straps, and it does genuinely actually look like a micro USB port.
This watch would have been more appropriate for Argylle as a spy. Okay, maybe not the green version, but just think he could have stolen the data, plugged it into his watch, and away it goes. But there we go. So go and check out the Hublot and the USB connection therein. Right, we're going to tune into Hit Miss Maybe shortly, so we will be Hit Miss Maybeing 4 watches this week. You'll get to hear 2 of them on the podcast, but if you want to hear the other 2, one of which is almost certainly going to be everybody's thoughts on the Reverso, then go and check out the Blog to Watch Weekly live YouTube channel, and you can tune in to the live production of this Hit Miss Maybe show at around about 8:15, 8:20 on a Tuesday morning. But before we go into that, we have Roman back for Roman and the Gloman. So here's Roman.
Hello gents, it's Roman here, Times Roman AU. Greetings from down under again. Question for you, what do you think's the most overused or intentionally meaningless or even misunderstood term by the community currently being used in the watch industry? I've been thinking about this. Is it A, in-house? Is it B, sustainable? Or C, water resistant? I've definitely got some thoughts, but would love to hear yours. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, gents, so Roman's question, which is the most overused phrase? He offers 3: in-house, sustainable and water resistant. What is your favourite most overused phrase? Or add a D or an E option to that list. Ripley.
Among that list, I would say sustainable. I don't even know what that means anymore. It's just like, I live in California. The number of nuts, oats, and other plants that they have milked in my home state to create alternatives for milk at the cafe, they seem to have done the same thing. I honestly, I don't know what sustainable means. There's so many bioresins. But more than any of those, it is the word master by Omega. Because it doesn't just mean one thing. We have the Omega C master, Aqua Terra Rail master, master coaxial. We've got multiple uses of the word master, and in each one, it represents something different. So
they've mastered everything.
Masters of the universe.
They're coaxial masters. They're dual axling. They're mastering. So that's exactly how they managed to do it.
David, most overused phrase?
Easy. It's iconic. Easy. Nothing comes even remotely close to this. I mean, when I think the funniest, the most Twitch provoking thing that I use when something is brand new and it's immediately called iconic. It can't, by default, it's like Kia making a freaking coupe and calling it iconic like a 911. It's not. It did not exist yesterday. How can it be iconic today? It's impossible. That's not how anything iconic works at all. And it's just the buzzword of the moment. And it's beyond frustrating. If I searched for the word iconic in my inbox, I'm not even sure how many emails I have. Let's see. Hold on.
Oh, that's dangerous, dude.
Yeah. And the answer is?
It doesn't. It can't keep count. It says 1 to 50 of many. But give me all of them.
Yeah. I mean, my first page. My first page only tops out on the 12th of this month. Like we don't even get 2 weeks here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of the selection from Roman, I think I probably vote in-house, but it's the word pro in anything. Just they run out of ideas. They need to do something that's a little bit more expensive than the original one, so they call it the pro version. Although an honourable shout out to Breitling and their friction resistance, which I've still no idea what a friction resistant watch is, but that's how they describe the endurance. So, there we go. Anybody else wants to adopt that, maybe it will help explain what it is. Do go on to Spotify, especially if you obviously listen to this on Spotify, and there will be a poll there for Roman and the Gloman, and you can select and add to that as to what you think the most overused or overrated, most misused phrase is in the world of watches. Okay, we're now going to open up the room and let some people in to play Hit Miss Maybe. Greetings and welcome everybody. Everyone has joined us and you may be live in the chat, in which case you can join us as well. But let's do what we normally do on Hit Miss Maybe and find out who we've got, where they are and what they're wearing. So first up, Ripley. Where are you and what you're wearing?
Still in Los Angeles, wearing the Titoni 02 Ceramatech. There's a full review on this on aBlogtoWatch, so if you want to learn more, check it out.
Excellent. David, where are you? What are you wearing? Why have you not got a stone wall behind you like Ripley has?
I do have one, but it's under construction still. It's in the man cave. Yeah, I'm in Budapest, and in my mind, I'm wearing this amazing SAXEM Hublot that we just talked about recently.
Yeah. Oh, so you, after having promised us last week that there was going to be some wristwatch action on the wrist, you've actually failed this week and there's none.
No, it's a slow process. I'm getting there. It's like just projecting first. Next week it's gonna be on my wrist. Just watch.
Leslie, where are you and what are you wearing?
I'm in Dublin and I'm wearing something I suspect you don't know. Possibly it's a 47-0, which is an Irish-made micro brand made by a friend of mine in Annecy. ETA movement. He stamps out the dials. Interesting story. I'll tell you about it sometime.
Excellent. Matt, new to the show, but not new to me. Where are you and what are you wearing?
Good morning. I'm from sunny Bedfordshire today, and today I'm wearing the Nodus Canyon in mint green, which I helped work on with the Le Jeu Perret movement inside that one.
Very nice indeed. Will, what one of your chateaus are you in today, and what are you wearing?
I'm still in Kent at the moment.
Chateau de Kent.
Chateau de Kent. This morning I'm wearing I think it's a 36 mil HMT, which is an Indian watch brand, which started in about 1960 odd. And this is one of the watches they give to the Indian military, which is very cool. But I got it extremely cheaply online. But it's a really cool watch, and the lume could light a room. It's amazing.
Great stuff. And Kevin, from your cave, where are you? What are you wearing?
Morning, everybody. I'm in sunny, hopefully sunny Kent by the coast. I'm wearing today the Grand Seiko SBPA 407, more commonly known as a Skyflake. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Good stuff. Well, let's crack on with the watches we're going to be looking at. And we're going small and dainty because there are some, although Simon's not here, there are some small and dainty wrists among this crew. You know, I'm not going to name names, but let's see what they think of these. They're naming their own names, so Ripley basically. So let's see what everybody thinks of this first one, which is the Vacheron Constantin self-winding 34.5 mil watch. You can see it here in nice gold. You've got, it does look just like as you would expect a small Vacheron Constantin overseas, but it's only 34 mil. I am not personally sure that this needs to exist in the world, but let's see what you all think. So on the count of three, give us your hit, your miss, or your maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, 5 hits, a miss, and a maybe. So let's take it away. Ripley, why is this a hit?
So for integrated bracelet watches, I like them small. I've got small wrists, but I think they should be smaller on people's wrists. A smaller watch, you get more bracelet. If you're getting an integrated bracelet watch, you want that bracelet, more bracelet. That's what you're looking for. So for anyone who can't wear the full size one, having a smaller watch in even a size that seems a little bit smaller than you normally go for, if you normally wore 36, 37, what have you, this is a bit smaller. You're going to get more bracelet on the wrist. You get to see more bracelet on the top of the wrist. All makes sense. Now, why it's a hit is because they didn't just like shrink it and pink it and make the overtly feminine versions of these watches. They basically made the same watches that existed in the larger sizes, just smaller. And that's literally what everyone just wants with these smaller watches. Like, don't give me a mother of pearl dial with diamonds. I just want the same thing, just smaller. Both men and women say that, not ever. And so the fact that they did that is great. So yeah, it's a hit for me. You know, I like the big ones. These ones are smaller. They'd probably fit my wrist better. So definitely a hit.
David, why is it a hit for you?
Nice proportions and execution on a smaller model, and that's not always the case. It's not always something that we see. Sometimes when what happens is they make it smaller and then you lose some details. Oh, because there's not enough space for it or not enough material to work with or whatever else. And here I don't feel like we've come shortchanged in any way.
Good stuff. Leslie, how did you vote?
Yeah, I hit much the same. I'm fine with 35. I wear 35mm watches. I know this is going to sound strange to you, Rick, but I've got some old vintage pieces from the 60s and 70s that are that size, and they look good on my wrist. And they suit a sort of more dress aesthetic, and I think you could absolutely wear this with anything. And as has been said, the proportions are perfect. There's some nice finishing on the reverse there on the movement. Which I quite liked. And yeah, no, I'd absolutely wear this. I'm not sure I want to pay 52,000 for the gold version, though. It's expensive.
Yeah. Matt, your first vote, and it was a hit for this?
It was a hit, yeah. So I happen to know somebody who has the steel version. I've tried it on myself and seen it in the metal. So it is, like others have said, there's not being shrinked and pinked, if however you want to, whatever the past tense of that is. And so, but the proportions are slightly amended for it. They haven't just reduced it in every single dimension. The bezel is slightly thinner. Slightly thicker on this than the larger size, and the gold one is a hell of a piece. And I've held the full weighted version of the larger size, and it's incredible. It feels like wearing some sort of tungsten armor on your wrist. But no, this one is a hit for me. Big hit.
Good stuff. Will, your thoughts?
Yes, I said it was a hit as well. I like the fact that it is just a smaller version of the main watch, so it's kind of concentrated down. And I think I would almost dare to say it works better when it's smaller. Having tried on the larger one, it's a bit too big for me. And agree with Leslie about vintage watches. Just the beauty of a smaller vintage dress watch is really nice. So to see a dress watch like this, which is, or a watch like this, which is smaller, it looks great. So yeah, and I think this is obviously going to be the trend going forward, if it's not already, as we move away from giant watches.
Yeah. We just recorded a section for Roman and the Gloman talking about most overused phrases. I'm adding to that vintage inspired in terms of overused phrases in the watch industry. Kevin, you almost agreed with me and gave this a maybe.
Yes, I did. I do like the design. I mean, I'm a great fan of the Overseas, but the fact that it's too small for me, that's why it's a maybe. It's a beautiful piece, and they'll sell loads of them if you can get one, of course, and it will be twice the price on the secondary market. But yeah, it's just the only reason it's just too small for me. That particular piece.
I gave this a miss. I'm sorry, you're all wrong. Nobody needs a 34.5mm Vacheron Overseas. 38, 36, maybe, but 34.5 for that price for 52 grand. Somebody needs to do the maths of how much watch you're getting per millimeter. But I'll bet you the margins bigger than a 34
you just want to be Victor, Rick.
Yeah, Rick, if case diameter for dollar spent, I've got a U-boat for you, my friend.
That's the weirdest metric ever.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable new metric to introduce. I just don't see anybody going in and going, yeah, I want to spend 52 grand on this while it's sitting next to the full size one, which is probably roughly the same price, going, why am I paying? You want more stuff, not less stuff, but maybe I'm just a big-wristed, Panerai wearing thug. But there we go. Anyway, right, next up is going to be, because this is the small watch show now, next up is going to be this from Tag Heuer. The Tag Heuer Carrera date 36mm Plasma Diamante d'Avant-Garde watch. Oh, get rid of some of those words for a starter. Tag. But you can see what this is. Very clear. It's got diamonds and it's a small tag. So if that doesn't give you all the information you need in order to cast a fair and reasonable and transparent vote, I don't know what is. So is this a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. We have, it's quite a lot of maybes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maybes, 1 hit. Yeah, you can tell he's not done this show before. In fact, what's that from you, Wesley? Is that a miss from Wesley? So let's deal with some maybes. First of all, Ripley, why is this a maybe?
I like what they're doing with these like plasma diamond riddled watches. I'd love to see it in person to see. It's all about the colors on these. So they did a pink one last year. Now they're doing a yellow one. They're showing that they can do different colors of diamonds. They're all lab done. That's why the whole winding crown is one big diamond. I need to see it in person before I can make a final judgment. If it's all about the color of this yellow, let's see how this color of yellow is. I want to see it in person before I'll make a word on it. The one thing I do wish was different. Give me some yellow baguettes on the hour markers. Like, what is that? Like, I feel like they just copped out of that. Like, it's right there. Like, yeah, put more yellow diamonds on. The fact that they only put 2 feels a little bit weak, but, I reserve my final judgment till I see it in the metal. The fact that they're doing this with diamond in general is cool to me. So it's a maybe,
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, Leslie.
I'm over the diamond thing. I'm sorry. And diamonds are not they're not rare. They are not rare. Read that book, Stoned. I forget her name, but it's a brilliant book. There is millions and millions of diamonds. They're charging 100,000 for this. They should be using lab-grown ones, more ethically viable. Maybe they are. I don't know. Who knows? I just don't like the look of it. I don't like. I'm sorry. I don't want diamonds in my watch. I don't want to pay 100,000 euros. No, or dollars, whatever. No.
And no. We can get you a double miss sign next week. You can have a sign, just put miss on it. Matt, the hit.
Yeah, I didn't want to sit on the fence in this. I wanted to feel like I committed either way. And I was more.
We'll take some advice from that. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be committed, okay?
and I was more in the hit side of the fence than the miss side. I felt so I leant that way. And the reason I think, price aside, it's 100 grand. Very few people are going to be spending that amount of money on it. But for the design alone and the use of they are lab-grown diamonds on all the aspects of it. I remember the full black one with the sort of, it looked like someone had filled a shotgun with lab diamonds and fired it at the case of the black one. That was it last year or the year before?
Last year, I think.
Of that model, and I thought, actually, it's doing something different. I like the aesthetic. I love the diamond crusted dial, and I actually like the single yellow diamond shield of the tag logo in the center. So my hit is purely based on aesthetics and nothing to do with value or price. And they're going to be extremely limited, probably making probably less than 10 a year, I should think. So for that reason, the price is almost a redundant factor.
Will?
I liked the use of the lab-grown diamonds, which I think is more ethically better. I said maybe because the design I'm not so sure about. Part of me wants to think that it's quite interesting, and the other part of me thinks it looks a little bit like I'm going to say a mall watch, but something that would come on the front of a bright pink magazine that my 6-year-old would be attracted to in a shop, which is just ultimately destroying it. So perhaps there's a little bit too much diamond in there, but it's a solid design anyway. So I said it was a maybe. It obviously has a market, and very limited numbers, as you say, will find enough people, I think.
Will bringing the heat, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, my vote was a maybe. I do like the design of it, and I do agree with most of the other people. It's a challenging piece. I love the fact that they use lab-grown diamonds, but at 100 grand, oh my gosh. I mean, what's their cheapest watch at the moment? About 2 grand. So they've got a wide spectrum of potential clientele, but it's just too much money. I love it, but it won't be on my wrist. They do a tourbillon version, which is absolutely crazy, but which is obviously going to be more expensive. This is a maybe. It's going to be less than 10 a year, as you say, probably not even that. So I love it, but it's not for me.
David, it's got diamonds on it.
Yeah, it certainly does, but it's also I would go so far. For some time I've been thinking about what is the most expensive Celito equipped watch out there, and I think this answers it. It's almost cynical, honestly. For 90,000 Swiss francs to add a Celita with an open case back, just put on a solid white gold case back, have somebody engrave it over the night or whatever. But to expose it like that, shove it in people's faces, I mean it's an outrage to put a 100 Swiss franc movement in a 90,000 Swiss franc watch. Again, I think it's a cynical exercise. I think this would be a fun watch. Maybe, why not just sell it without the movement? If I just can't make any sense of this whatsoever. If they want to show off how they can grow diamonds and apply it to a dial, which is very nicely done, by the way, I think it would go without a movement just as far to prove the point. So that hurts in a way. With a steel case for 15,000, I think this would be a great and very strong offering. Maybe 18,000, but not 100k USD. No, yeah. It's just an odd exercise.
I gave this a maybe because it's got diamonds in it. It's the only acceptable Tag Heuer logo is one made out of diamond, although it does make it look increasingly like a Tudor logo, which maybe improves it. But 100 grand for a Celita movement is, it probably actually should be a miss, but there we go. Good stuff. Go and check that out and give us your opinions. Okay, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're now going to miss out the next two watches, but we will see you again in a minute for our goodbyes. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone, for listening, whether you listen to this in the podcast or whether you're on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, you've just missed Leslie's justification and Will's justification. In fact, all their justifications for why the reversal exists. I am, taking one for the non-reversal team, but you need to go to the YouTube channel and check that out. But, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from all of them. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Bye.